Yo, and welcome back to another exciting Catan game played on twosheep.il. This game is taken from my first qualifier in the Catan community IRL format tournament using chosen boards and custom seeding based on your performance. In this mini-series, I'll be giving you a bit of insight into how I played my games and how those games went. I decided to do this because I had so many really interesting and exciting games that I figured it would be a shame not to show you guys. So, without further ado, let's get into the placements. It's me up first, Davbav, and I decided to take the 9-5-10 here, double ore and wood, with the wood port and the 3-1 ahead. I chose this because there is such a high amount of wheat on the board that having the ore advantage seems pretty nice to me. I also see value on the wood port ahead, which would make for a really nice 9-5-10 city. And I am also expecting to get onto the 8-4 later in the game, which would help me out a bunch as well. I think that is kind of the dream game plan, and we'll see if that ends up happening based on the other placements. Blue, thinking roughly along the same lines, does take the 8-3-10, leaning to more ore rather than taking the more balanced 8-3-4. With so much sheep around to take on the way back, I think this makes a lot of sense, but slightly hazardous rolled drops onto the 8-4. Now, this is never going to be available. I'm definitely taking that spot if someone else doesn't. And I think as an all-wheat sheep player, you need the expansion spots where you can get them. So I think this roll was a bit of a mistake, but regardless, moving on to yellow, they take 6-5-11, which is pretty cool. Gives you the best wheat, gives you good wood, a little bit of brick on a very scarce brick board, really good outs. So I think the 9-5-10 over here, 9-5-10, the 6-3-4, even the 6-3-4 here, or the 6-4-11 if you're desperate. 4-9-2 exists. There's a lot of good stuff that can come back, so it's a nice pick. They do point right here, which looks weird. It actually isn't that weird at all, since you can expect red to not take the 4-9-11 in most cases. You can expect fourth to take the sheep port setup, something like this, and in fact they do this. Now they do take a 4-9-11. That is where this game gets a bit weird. I think 4-9-11 did not serve any purpose at all. Neither of the players who are remaining are going to take the 9-11-3. It removes your only 3-hex expansion, which is this 11-9-3. It takes you a step away also from the 5-2, which, you know, 4-9-2 onto 5-2 is a bit quicker. This serves no purpose as far as I see it, so bit of a wasted endeavor. This spot maybe was a mistake, I'm not sure. And blue takes the 6-3-4, actually doubling that 3, starting with a dev in hand, and opening up some space on the left, which is nice. The 11-4, the 6-11-12, both going to be solid expansions. Unless I take it, I don't. They're never getting the 8-4 here, and I judge this 8-4 to be better than the 6-11-12 all the time. It's a little bit more wheat. The ore port could come in handy, and maybe even a road builder to the 9-12. 9-12 up here, the ore port, and then city, the 9-5-10, and then all of a sudden you're doing something. It's not how I'd like to play, and it's a little bit too risky. And how I see it, taking the 3-1 port on this 8-4 is going to allow me to buy a lot of development cards and also have a really balanced early game where I can definitely spend cards if I have too many. So I think this is a solid pick. There's nothing really on the board that I like more than this. Now that's the end of the placements, and the game starts with a 3 rolling, absolutely the worst case scenario. Blue actually immediately is rolled onto a city. They've doubled my wheat production, they've doubled my ore production. Another 3 will hit here. Yeah, disaster. Puts blue another roll away from a city, which is terrifying. It won't take long for red to settle onto the sheep port, which is really strong now. The 6 is a free card. It can be a wheat, an ore, a brick. Lots to work with there. That is starting to pick up a bit of speed, and having extra brick is actually going to pay off quite a few times this game. Now in disastrous fashion, another 3 rolls here for blue, which is not boding well for me. At this point, I think I need a city on the ore. So I do pass instead of buying a dev. No one was interested in trading. No one needed the sheep that I had. Just had to pass here on 7 cards. Unfortunately, after passing, almost immediately I do then 7 out with a city in hand, and I have to drop the city, which is tragic. Now back to my turn. I do actually roll a 7. I 7 out yellow, and I hit blue for an ore, and I do build a city on the 9-5-10. So Back in business a little bit. That city is really important, especially with the 3-1 port. I do currently have basically the best flexibility, about on par with red, but of course I do have the double ore rolls, which they do not have. Immediately, zero card meta does pay off as blue plays a knight and has to rob yellow by default. Now, red offers me a brick here, trying to get an ore to buy a development card. I'm happy to do this trade since a 10 or a 9 will give me another city. I give them the dev, and they actually do get a victory point, which is pretty important for them as an oreless player. But I also get a brick, which is pretty important for me as a brickless player. So that should help me get an expansion down in the future. The 5 has now rolled, and we get to my turn where I'm able to drop a road and pass again on 7 cards. I don't really feel like porting for a development card. I really do want to get the settlement down, and the threat of blue pulling a road builder is really scary, and I'm trying to save cards here. I think it's about being efficient as well with a setup like this. Now in this spot, yellow actually 7s out again, and they rob me and steal my only ore out of 7 cards, which was brutal, crippling my hand. Very unfortunate. Not to worry, because on the next roll, I actually do receive 2 ore from the 9, giving me a city in hand, putting me on 8 cards, which of course is immediately punished as I 7 out. By my next turn, however, I've had some luck, as you can see here, and I am actually able to build a city and buy a development card for a victory point. That's 5 points. Quite the money turn for me there. In this spot, I think it's anyone's game except yellow. They have by far the hardest path to victory, and I reckon someone else is going to win before they manage to. Blue on the next turn actually buys 2 development cards, and they get 2 knights, which helps them play for army, which those are much needed points, but nothing too flashy either. Next turn, yellow goes even further around the 5 wood, expanding into my space, taking roads, and setting up the 3-1 port, making that 5 a free card at any point, which is not bad. Moving ahead, red does actually roll onto a city here with the sheep port, and they hit a massive city on the 6-3-4. Things are starting to heat up now since red is on 6. They do have a strong road play, loads of wood and brick, very flexible with the sheep port. It's going to be difficult to counter this. By their next turn, no one has really progressed, but red is able to get 2 roads down to the 8-3. Starting to open up a road play. Settle would be 7, road would then be 9 points. Things are heating up, and no one looks even remotely close to winning here, or challenging even. Now, blue does take army here on their turn, robbing red, getting a trade with yellow for a brick, and getting a road settle down with the 6-11-12. Not a very impactful expansion, but a point is a point, and it's also a city spot. On their next turn, yellow actually has 14 cards here. They can build a city, they can build 3 roads, settle, and a development card, or just settle and then buy a city as well. Neither of these options appear to be attractive for yellow, as they actually go all the way down to the 9-12, settle there, and hold the ore in hand, setting up an even longer road play, coordinated 9s. Yellow definitely making the game interesting. Moving forward again, red is able to actually settle here for 7 points. Things are getting really close. Finally, I do actually get the settlement down, rolling the perfect 8 for a settle and a development card, which gives me a knight. Nothing too fancy, but always handy to keep your rolls unblocked. As if to make up for the previous road usage, yellow pulls a road builder here of all development cards, so that road connection is going to be solid. And by their next turn, we can see that not much really happens here in the grand scheme of things, but yellow does play out the road builder, secure longest road. I get a trade with yellow, giving them an ore and getting me a couple of brick, which will certainly be helpful. And my hand in this position is definitely primed to take advantage of having 2 brick. I can get a road settle onto the 5 wood here, actually plowing yellow. I could also go onto the 8. On my next turn, I do pull a knight, which is useless. This endgame sequence is pretty much non-stop, so keep your eyes peeled. We have blue rolling a 7, actually robbing me instead of red, which I think is a mistake. Even if I had 3 victory points, it's quite difficult for me to get more, whereas I think red has a much easier game on their hands. Regardless, they do rob me. Yellow buys 2 development cards, getting a victory point and a knight. I think I would have stopped after the victory point and just aim maybe to settle for 8, since it's getting pretty close. But they do go for the knight, and so it is. By their next turn, yellow now builds 2 more roads, securing the 5 wood and also expanding down the 9, starting to build a really impressive longest road here. So 13 roads. Basically, their entire game is committed to this, and they're also on 7 points with a locked 8th point open. Not bad. Now, unfortunately for me, on their next turn, red actually buys another victory point, putting them on 8 points with an open road settle for 9. Getting quite close here, and I'm the only player who doesn't feel very close. I'm still just on 6 points. Now I'm praying for an 8 here, and it does hit, giving me the perfect settlement for 7. I do now pass, and blue 7s out for the 3rd or 4th time, I think, and buys not 1 but 2 knights, killing any hope I would have had at largest army. Now red unblocks, robs me, gets enough cards to road settle, and does do it for 9 points, but they need a city or another victory point or longest road, but that is quite the trek. I hit a really good roll here, the 9 giving me 2 development cards, 1 road builder and a 2nd victory point, putting me on 8 points with a road builder to expand, and also just needing 2 cities to win now. Without that extra victory point, it's very difficult for me to calculate my win conditions, since I don't have access to largest army. I don't really have an easy way to build roads or get more settlements. So that is a very important victory point and a very important road builder as well. Just the next turn, blue also buys 2 development cards, getting a Year of Plenty and a Monopoly. All the good devs are coming out now. Blue lacking for points, but not lacking for money devs in hand, leading us into quite the exciting endgame. Now red already does have winning rolls, the 9, the 4, as well as the 8, all are winning rolls. Luckily they do not hit that, and instead they hit a 2 roll, which allows them to build an interesting maneuver here. They expand down onto this 9 sheep here, actually capping yellow's road length, indicating that they are looking to play for road, and they have also ported for an extra brick, but they don't use it. I am not quite sure why they didn't just hold the sheep, since they would have still had many winning rolls with the 9, with the 4, potentially to be able to build a city on their next turn. But regardless, they do it and pass. On my turn, I now have the option to either build a city, buy a development card, or play the road builder and port my entire hand for the 11-4. I actually decide to go for the city here on the 8, securing 9 points. Now, I know some people did disagree with me when I streamed this live. I'm not going to get too into it, since I still back my decision. I still have the option to get the road builder settled down. I still am able to build a city to win the game, and I figured that if anything, the city may help me more with my winning condition, still allowing me 2 different options as opposed to spending my whole hand to force myself into a winning city. So we'll see how that pays out, but 9 points it is. Now blue does roll a 7 and rob a wood from me, then Monopoly sheep, they just build 1 road. So blue is still just on 7 points here with the Year of Plenty. Not too scary, but at the same time, if red is not able to win, blue does start to get scarier. I'm sitting on 9 points, but only 1 card. Very strange endgame. Now, while I'm waiting, the Holy 8 does roll, giving me a development card in hand and also 2 winning rolls on my next turn. Either the 8 or the 10 would give me the win. And we see red actually just building 1 road and passing. Unfortunately, I miss my 2 winning rolls and the 3 rolls, the cursed 3 that has followed me this whole game. I have no options here. I do go for a Hail Mary development card. It looks to me like blue may just be able to settle city. I don't know, they don't have a victory point. And red definitely has good chances to win as well. So I go for it and I don't get it. Now blue has winning rolls in the 3, the 4 and the 10 with settle city city. Look at this absolutely insane hand. But they miss the roll and just have to settle for the settle, city, and 2 development cards, 2 knights. And now on the final turn of the game, red does hit a roll, giving them 15 cards. And you may notice that they don't have enough cards to build a city. Despite 15 cards, they cannot build a settlement. They don't have a short chance to win via development cards, but they do have the perfect road play, which they prepared all the way back from this 9 sheep road, building 1, 2, 3, using the sheep port for a 4th road, and that is game for 11 points. Fantastic. Really close. You will notice that the production is decreasing in order of most likely to have won the game since I had winning rolls before blue, and even now at the end of the game I do have the city in hand to win. It's extremely close. Now if you want to check this game out, take a full look at it yourself in the description. It's linked down there. If you would like to join Catan community and take part in tournaments like this, the link is also down below. And if you enjoyed videos like this, please make sure to let me know in the comment section, drop a like, subscribe, and submit your own replays, either here or in the Two Sheep Discord, and I'll take a look at those and make videos from the most exciting games. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.